Well. Good afternoon. Good lunchtime, West Ham fans. Let's have a bit of a roundup. A lunchtime headlines, you may say. Yes, everybody, Russ and the West Ham Network. Hope you are all safe and well. Happy Friday. You've done another week. Congratulations. It's still bloody cold. It is still freaking freezing. Anyway, the transfer market is hotting us up, isn't it? Not quite yet, but I think it will do. And I think there's going to be a lot of we seem to be moving a lot of pieces around at the moment. And that's what we're going to do sort of lunchtime today. What we're talking about. There's loads of little bits. So rather than do a big show, I thought we'd do like sort of a lunchtime headlines, like the lunchtime news. So I thought we'd just, because we do Hammer's headlines. Hammer's headlines will be around the David Moyes press conference later on, which I think is probably quite anticipated. And hopefully someone will ask a question if we're bloody Bowen's going to be playing on Sunday or not. But regardless of that, we're going to go through a lot of good news, a lot of positive news, particularly around the academy, and some departure news and updates. Obviously, Anton spoke this morning about Calvin Phillips, which it does seem to be building a bit of momentum. More and more people are getting involved. The likes of, I was reading an article from Henry Winter to say, he's going to be a success if he comes to West Ham. We'll wait and see. And we spoke about Jonathan Rowe, and obviously Kadu's coming back, scoring two against Ghana for Ghana against Egypt, and a defeat would have been better for West Ham, I think, because then 3 points and you might finish third. But a lot of the other teams, I suppose, after this round, we'll see what everyone is. If they lose to Mozambique, they're out. There's no two ways about that because they're already bottom already. So let's go and start talking about. Let's start with the academy. Start with good news. Yeah, start with some good news. Now we have seen a clear strategy by West Ham, and no doubt spearheaded by Noble. We know he's heavily involved in the academy. He's there. He's literally, it's named after him as well, at Chadwell. But we know, speaking about Sir Mark Phillips and Robbo and Peter Kevin Keane and people like that, he's there every day, practically. He is totally invested in the academy. Obviously, I do the announcing and play the music for the 18s and 21s. He's there every game with with his son and whatnot as well. So there's been a clear strategy in the last sort of 2 to 3 months to try and secure our brightest academy stars to new contracts. So we have seen Patrick Kelly sign a new deal last week. They are in discussions with Callum Marshall, obviously Obama as well, to try and tie these down to a longer term deal. Obama's a bit different. It's more, I'd say, it's almost like a first team deal rather than necessarily a Academy Pro contract. But yesterday, it was officially announced that Ezra Mayes, the 17-year-old, 18-year-old centre half, has signed his first pro deal. This guy's good. This guy is good. He's a ball playing, left footed centre half. He's strong in tackle. He's got a cracking head of hair. And actually, we shouldn't take this too lightly. I know the club tend to make these announcements all the time in terms of clubs being, we're signing this guy on a pro deal, this guy's on a new deal. For Ezra had some real competition. We had some real competition for his signature. X revealed on his podcast the other day, Bayern Munich, one of the sides sniffing around for him, and that shows the caliber of him. As I said, I've seen him play. The last couple of FA Youth Cup games, particularly, he's been outstanding, commanding, and he's quick on the foot as well. So hopefully we'll see maybe the next 2-3 years. Obviously, the question is going to be in the comments, David Moyes is not going to play him. I'm concerned about getting him signed up first. Then we'll get to that point. And we never know. We never know what's going to happen in the managerial role, do we? And we never know whether, even if he does sign a new contract, there'll be, things in place to bring through the academy players as sort of KPIs. There may well be. We do not know. So yeah, that's good news. On the other hand, the club have announced a couple of departures. Thierry Neves, he's left. He's actually signed a deal with Sheriff. Sheriff Prozbor, the Moldovan Super League. They're always in the Champions League. I think they were in the Europa League this year. He's signed for them on making a 2.5. No, sorry. He signed a permanent deal with the Moldovan Super League side. Wow. How random is that? FC Sheriff. Fair play to you, mate. He's been on loan quite a bit, Newport County particularly. And the second half of the season, last season, was in Bradford as well, I think. And also they've announced the departure of Archie Woods, 20-year-old. He's made 22 appearances in all competitions in the under-21s last season, and he spent the first half of this year at Dartford, the Vanarama National League South side. So good luck to them in their future careers, and you never know, might be one to bite us in the bum. You never know. You never know. In terms of other academy outs, Ben Johnson. He's played quite well the last few games he's played, and it's like, and obviously there's this contract negotiations, and his agents think he's more of a bit more than a squad player at West Ham, and so they want a lot of money, and West Ham are refusing to pay that money. And I tend to agree that I think you sort of earn your stripes. I don't think he's quite earned his stripes in terms of maybe not even given opportunities potentially. Obviously, Soufal is very much the number one in terms of right back at the moment, and obviously needs some sort of looking at in the summer, I would suggest. But according to several sources, West Ham are are willing to sell or loan in this month rather. It's believed we're going to ask for £1 million plus loan fee to let the fullback depart London Stadium for the remainder of the season. He's rejected multiple contract extensions from the club, and his deal is actually expected to expire in the end of the summer anyway. So it's almost like getting something for nothing, getting him out on loan, getting £1 million for him. It's better than nothing, I suppose. We know the likes of Real Betis, Villarreal are interested in him, particularly Real Betis. Pellegrini gave him his debut, and he's played almost how many times he played for the club? 94, 95 league senior appearances. That ain't bad, really. Obviously, the fact is he can play in a number of positions, which is good, but I don't think it's good for him. It's good for a squad. It's good for a manager, but I don't think it's good for him because you're prince of, was it a jack of all, prince of none, or whatever it is. Likes of Leeds, Rangers were after him. As look at him, obviously Rangers need a fullback, so that would make more sense. But hey, get some sunshine, mate. Get some sunshine, innit? Over in Villarreal or Real Betis. But wait, see what happens. He probably he'll obviously be in the matchday squad, I imagine, for Sunday. But the club are open for him to move on loan. Obviously, you can sign a pre-contract agreement now with the likes of Betis and Villarreal, but we shall see what happens. Speaking of Spanish clubs, let's talk about Pablo Fornals. Apparently, there's a frenzy. There is a frenzy, and several clubs are doing the maths to sign him. He's been labelled in the Spanish media as the bargain of the transfer window. In that, obviously, he signed a new deal. He signed a new deal which kept him until the summer of next year. And it wasn't, for me, that was a bit of clever business by the club. It wasn't a case of maybe his position in the squad, but it maintains his value, and it maintains the fact that he couldn't leave on a free transfer in the summer or sign a pre-contract agreement in January. We know Sevilla are very keen on him. We apparently have already turned down. We would be willing to let him go on a loan with obligation to buy. Apparently, I think it's Napoli. Napoli had a dry loan, they call it, when it's just a loan deal, a bit like what potentially I think we'll be doing with Calvin Phillips. If we do anything with Calvin Phillips. So a dry loan turned down. So it's out the door type thing. So it's, and I know people are, a bit not frustrated, but annoyed maybe, angry at sort of the downward trajectory of Fornals at West Ham. But I think we've just bought better players as well. You know what I mean? It's like, in terms of, I mean, obviously I always prefer Fornals in the centre. We bought him as a 10, and then Moyes converted him to more of a box-to-box midfielder, and I thought he was good. And they put him out on the left, and obviously every time he's played, he's tried, but yeah, I mean, I remember when we played him left wing back. Do you remember? He had a good go there. But I just think now, the likes of Caduce, with the likes of Paqueta being drifted out onto the left-hand side, that's really the area which he would tend to be more often than not. And I just think in the centre as well, you got Alvarez, JWP. They've spent big money on him. Thomas Souček scoring, so he really is on the second string bench. Really, that's no disrespect to him, because he'll obviously be he'll be one of those fans' favourites, the guy who's fondly remembered in years to come. If anything, for that bloody Scorpio kick, wasn't it? Last year, but I think it's for him. He wants to be playing first team football. The same with Ben Rama as well. Ben Rama will always be remembered for that, scoring in the Champions League final. I wish, in the Europa Conference League final, and he'll always have that in his locker when he comes back to West Ham, to watch games or be a guest, or things like that. So, and it makes sense. And the likes of Jonathan Rowe being linked, and various others, Ibrahim Osman and Gudmundsson from Genoa and stuff. I think it is time to. We've got I think Anton did a stat the other day in terms of. I know people always bang on about £500,000 of players spent in the last 3.5, 4 years or whatever it is under Moyes, but a lot of them. But we don't get rid of a lot of players. There's not a massive turnover. I think we're getting to a point now where we need to be a bit more ruthless. Even when I see reports of Ogbonna being potentially offered a new deal, no, it's all right for the now, but he's had a couple of good games, but he's been shocking until then, and and it's like no, Fabianski I get, and actually Nathan Trott did an interview with the must be a Danish side. Saying he's unclear where his future lies. Well, not at West Ham, clearly. He's been on loan for the last 3 or 4 years, isn't it, really? So, I mean, his contract expires at West Ham as well in the summer, so I imagine he'll be... But apparently there's an option in his contract for another 2 years, I think, in terms of Nathan Trott. But anyway, regardless of that, it does seem to be some squad renovation needed. And keeping people who were good... and bringing, that just prolongs this discussion. And I suppose it all depends about what happens in the dugout, really, in the summer. But yeah, I will be surprised if you see Pablo move on. I don't know now in terms of the summer. I don't know, because it might be more the summertime now, just because we've only got 11 days left of the January transfer window. One player I think will be, obviously, the last time it was all about Declan Rice, the Declan Rice saga. I think this summer it's going to be all about the Lucas Paqueta saga. Journalist Graham Bailey has taken to his own personal social media to claim that Paqueta will be found not innocent on the allegations of his betting. He says because of that, Paqueta has been, and I quote, robbed of a move to Man City in two transfer windows now. Obviously, we know he's got an £85 million release clause, which comes into effect next summer, I believe. We obviously were apparently having negotiations with his people to see if we can get a new deal, which would take that out, but I don't think that's going to happen. If he's found not guilty, I would very much assume that City will come back in with him. However, in the meantime, City have since bought Nunez from Wolves. They also have, moved Rico from a fullback position into a central midfield position. They also have played John Stones. I would say Josh Stone. Yeah, are you digging on me? John Stones into midfield. And when the time comes, it might be that Paqueta isn't favoured. He's not needed at City. I don't know. But I imagine that's going to be a saga which takes us through the whole of the summer, so just preparing you for that as well. So there we go. Half a dozen stories just going around the news. There's obviously loads more. We did the Rusty Rumour Roundup yesterday. I think we're almost at 60 names we've been linked with. So that's 2.5 Premier League squads we've been linked with already. Almost a third Premier League squad. We're getting there. We're getting there, my friends. 11 days to go. Obviously, Sheffield United on Sunday. We'll be doing a David Moyes press conference in Hammers Headlines later on today, and then start all the preview stuff for the United game. I said Wednesday game for the United game. So going in, talking about the predicted 11s and stat attacks and things like that. So keep an eye on the channel. And then next week we've got a bit of a break after we've played Sheffield United. We don't play again until the 1st of February in terms of the Bournemouth game. So we've got about a 10-day break. So no doubt we'll see. I think then you'll see any transfer activity intensify because obviously there's no games to play. And in terms of the West Ham Network, we've got a couple of interviews. We'll have a couple of Miami's 11s coming up with some good eggs. So you'll have something to keep you going as well. And we may even bring back the committee, the transfer committee, to see if we can decide on some players that we want to be signing. And until then, take care, stay safe, stay warm, stay humble. It's important to stay warm and check on others if they're they're not very well, if they're old. Don't know why I'm being so nice. And I will see you guys very, very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.